It's like Wayne's World. Teach me about the Great Lakes. Teach me about the Great Lakes. Welcome back to Teach Me About the Great Lakes. This is our first anniversary special. Yay! Woo! That's right, exactly. Woo! 1 year ago today is when we launched Teach Me About the Great Lakes, and we're going to celebrate that a little bit and follow up on some stuff and just have a good time and set up an amazing 2021, at least podcast-wise. The rest of 2021, I'll be honest, guilty until proven innocent. But I am joined today by a bunch of people. Megan Gunn, one of our newest co-hosts. Megan, how are you?
I'm good, Stuart. How are you?
I'm good too. Megan Megan's an aquatic education associate with us at Illinois Indiana Sea Grant. We also have Carolyn on. Carolyn, what's up?
Not much right now.
Okay,
everything is going all right. Yeah.
Hey, we'll take it. It's only 1:15, but we'll take it. That's Carolyn Foley. She is Illinois Indiana Sea Grant's research coordinator. And we're also thrilled to be joined today by one of our favorite guests, the guest from the very first episode of Teach Me About the Great Lakes, Illinois Indiana Sea Grant's own pollution prevention specialist. Is that right?
It is.
Sarah Zach. Sarah, how are you?
Hello. I'm great. How are you, Stuart?
Oh, I'm great. I'm so happy to be celebrating this first anniversary episode after a nice relaxing winter holiday, and here we are. And so we got a big rundown today, so we'll just go through it. What we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit more about microplastics with Sarah. She's done a lot of cutting-edge sort of outreach and been involved, associated with the whole microplastics issue in the Great Lakes. And so we're excited to talk about that some more with her. But if you want to, for a little background, just go ahead and pause this and go to teachmeaboutthegreatlakes.com/1 and listen to Sarah's episode. It's a good one. They're also called Nerdles. And we'll link to it in the show note. But we're going to follow up on that. But first, we want to introduce a brand new segment today called Great Lakes Factoids. And like all great segments, this one starts with a theme song. It's a Great Lakes factoid, a Great Lakes factoid. It's a great factoid about the Great Lakes. Cha! Sarah, I understand you have a factoid about microplastics. Hit me.
I do. So, given the theme of today's podcast, I thought it would be appropriate to talk about how much plastic enters the Great Lakes. So, our factoid is that about 22 million pounds, which is 10,000 metric tons of plastic debris, enters the Great Lakes every year from the United States and Canada.
How much again?
About 22 million pounds.
Wow.
Million pounds.
Kind of outrageous.
That is a lot. And it's a lot. So do you know, based on your work, is a lot of that from, is that in microplastic form primarily, or do you know?
It's both. Yes, it's both. So it's microplastics, larger plastics. And most of this work was done by modeling.
Yeah.
But, no one can really go out there and measure millions of pounds of plastics. No. But yeah, it's sort of the sum total of all of the plastic debris that enters the Great Lakes.
Holy moly. That's a lot of plastic. Well, and with that actually brings us to our main deal today, which is going to be this. We're going to do something a little bit different in celebration of year one. But what we did was we all, over the last several months, have been trying out all sorts of different plastic alternative products, right? Because one thing we talked a lot about on episode 1 is the idea of these alternative products and the utility, like, are they good to use, or why should you use them, even though they're 22 million pounds? Obviously, you're not going to make a dent in that. But there's a lot of good reasons to use them. So we're going to talk about those today, but we're going to do it in a different way. We're going to do it in the form of a draft. All right, so let me explain how this is going to work. I have gone to our friends at random.org and randomly selected an order. Well, I'll go last. I'm the host. I'm gracious, as you know. But so anyway, I will go last. But I've randomly selected an order for the draft. And what we're going to do is each person is going to pick one of the items, one of the plastic alternative items that they used and loved, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. But once that pick is taken, it's off the board. So, you're assembling your team of microplastic alternatives, and I think we're going to go through 2 rounds probably. So it's, you might want to be strategic. You might not want to be, but we'll talk about our experiences with them. And thanks to our friends at random.org, Sarah Zach, you are going to go with the first pick. So what is your pick here?
So the favorite thing that I did was, over the course of the past few months, I've been making my own foaming hand soap.
Whoa.
So, pandemic times, right? Like soap shortage was a big deal. Soap shortages in general was a big deal. And we were all being told, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. And I have a 6-year-old and a now 10-month-old at home. And so, washing our hands was a very big deal to us. And so I found, and there are tons of recipes online for this, but you can buy Castile soap.
Okay.
There is a brand name associated with that I won't refer to.
Right. A brand name with an interesting label.
Yes. Large 32-ounce bottles of Castile soap, and they make it makes about 30 bottles of like regular drugstore foaming hand soap.
Okay.
So I already had some foaming hand soap bottles around, so I basically just cleaned them and have been reusing them for months.
That's brilliant.
And I just fill them up. It's 2 tablespoons of soap. I add a tablespoon of almond oil so that our hands don't get dry, and then a little bit of water, and just kind of gently shake it, and then boom, a brand new thing of foaming hand soap. And it's worked fantastic, and I highly recommend it. It's like the hippiest thing that I do. But it's also like, it's like every time I do it, I'm like, man, I should have done this sooner, because it's also super cheap.
Really? So does it say?
Because every one of those bottles is like $4, but you can buy for a little thing of foaming hand soap, but you can buy a big thing of the Castile soap for like $10-$12 and make 30 bottles of foaming soap.
So does it stay suspended? Like when you mix it up, how does that?
It does, yeah. So you have to kind of be gentle when you because if you shake it, then, it just foams in the bottle.
Yeah.
And I think, like in the bathrooms or the places where that doesn't get used as often, like every couple weeks, I'll kind of give it a couple turns just to make sure that it stays mixed.
Like a fine wine that you're cellaring.
Yes, exactly.
I've heard. Look at that. So easy, cheap. So that seems like it's largely just better all around, right?
Yeah. I've been really happy with it.
Oh, that's a very strong first pick of the draft for you. So yours is making your own soap out of Castile soap, and that really cuts back on your plastic bottle consumption. Love it.
Yeah, it wasn't done to save plastic. It was just a really nice byproduct of the whole process.
Is that you're really reducing them. And do you get to pick your own scent, I guess?
You can, yeah. Or like I have unscented soap, and I add essential oils to it.
Great.
Just
that's smart.
Yeah.
Which are expensive. Like that adds to the cost, but you don't have to do it.
Yeah, but it also adds to the fun, is the thing. So.
It does.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So in theory, we're supposed to be allowed to talk about other things. So since Sarah took foaming soap off the table, something that I've found was really cool is that there are actually companies that are sort of, you're not, for the not quite do-it-yourselfer, they have like little pods. Yeah. So they're trying to reduce so you basically buy like the bottle one time, and then you buy pods, and then you mix them up in the bottle and stuff like that. That's been kind of interesting.
So are the pods, they have like a little film around them like our dishwasher tabs do, or what? Or are they just kind of, what do they look like?
The ones that I've seen, I don't know about you, Carolyn, but the ones that I've seen are like pressed powder almost.
That's what I've seen too.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's like, and that's not, I don't think it's nearly as cheap. I think it's more on the order of if you bought a bottle each time, but it's slightly cheaper than if you bought a bottle each time, and stuff like that.
But it still saves an enormous amount of plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's really cool.
Exactly.
Do they taste as good as the Tide Pods or not quite?
Well, I haven't.
We need to have some kids on and ask the kids.
That'll be
No.
That'll be our second anniversary special. We taste different detergents. Excellent. All right. So with the second pick of the first round, we have Megan Gunn. Megan, what you got?
So I will preface this with, I was born in 1990. And so I don't remember safety razors. Like that wasn't a thing when I was growing up. Like it was just going and grabbing disposable razors from whatever nearby store, and you just use a disposable razor and throw it away. So over the last few months, I found a safety razor, which I thought was this newfound thing, but it's not. But it's amazing. It just sits by the shower, and the razor itself is metal. The blades are metal. They come with a little tin that you can just put the blades in after you're finished, and you can send it back to the company and they'll make sure that it's recycled properly, and you can order more razor blades, but you can also just get them from wherever they sell safety razor blades. And so that was my newfound number one pick for the sustainability purposes and plastic free.
That's really cool.
That is. I've not ever felt much older than I feel right now, but that's fine. No, so we don't do a video podcast for reasons that are very apparent if you've seen me, but I'm not often in the razor market, I guess. But when I was, I used to love the replaceable blade razor things, but I didn't. Yeah, mine wasn't so fancy that you could recycle it and all that. You just threw it in the trash and got another one. So this is cool.
Yeah. Oh, and the even better part, you can pick how many blades you want to have on it. So if you're like a one blade person, you can just have one blade. But if you like three, like me, you can have all three blades on there, and it's perfect.
Or if you don't want to say bleep it and go 5 blades, you can. Yeah.
Yep. Maybe, but that'll be a little tough to glue on or something.
Well, that's cool. So safety razors, great. And do you find, without getting too personal, do you find it to be similarly easy to shave, or is it a big challenge? Or
I think it's easier. Well,
really?
Okay. So it's probably the same, but I shave more because it's sitting right by the shower now. It's not in the garbage, and I have to or search for a new one. It's always sitting right there. And there's no weird film on the razor itself because it's been wet and then dry, wet and then dry. I just use whatever soap is nearby as and I mean, that saves plastic too. I'm not buying a bunch of weird cans or containers of shaving gel. You could just use, which I always did anyways, you could just use whatever soap or conditioner is nearby.
Did it freak you out the first time you used it? I'm shaving with straight razor blades, even though you're shaving with straight razor blades anyway, with disposable razors?
A little bit.
Yeah, just the idea of it is a little...
It was, is this going to be different? And then it was oh no, this is the same.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Excellent. Well, what a great recommendation. Our first two is interesting. You're kind of going old school a little bit, right? Making your own soap and using old school razors. Okay, Megan's going back maybe 25 years. Sarah's going back maybe 250 years. Well, that's okay. And then, all right, with the third pick in the first round of our plastic alternative draft, Carolyn Foley. Carolyn, what you got?
All right. Am I allowed to pick bar soap, or did Sarah take
No,
soap?
I can get a ruling, and the ruling is you are allowed to take bar soap. She took hand soap. Yeah.
Right. Then bar soap, because the bar soap that you can buy in the cardboard boxes. So there's not the shrink wrap, and even if you buy them in multiple packages, there's maybe some shrink wrap all around the outside, but it's still less than each individual one. One thing I found kind of weird when I went looking for products here is how many of the soaps and stuff that are sort of or toothbrushes or anything that are sort of marketed as better for the world that are still completely covered in plastic. And the plastic that the place that I live doesn't recycle everything. But there are some things that don't get recycled anywhere, right? Pretty much. So just the plain old bar soap in the boxes, you can recycle the boxes or let your kids draw on them or whatever. Yeah. And it's great.
And so do you keep that by your sink, or is that a shower situation?
All.
Yeah. Bar soap everywhere.
Bar soap?
I don't know.
Bar soap?
Yeah.
First pick of the...
yeah, probably more shower, as I'm understanding the question.
I remember as a kid, though, having little soap dishes and bars of soap in the bathrooms at the sinks. We didn't have hand soap, pumps of hand soap when I was a kid.
Right.
Maybe I'm dating myself. I don't know. But, it feels like liquid-based soaps is more of a newer,
Yeah.
I don't know what new...
That strikes me as having come up in the 90s with some of those mall-based stores that would sell all the stinky ones that you'll buy your girlfriend or whatever. Yeah. Or your boyfriend or whatever. But my experience was in buying stuff from those stores for a girlfriend, and you would come out.
It was a novelty, right? It wasn't something that
and it went from novelty to everything. It's why is everything? Now everything is just plastic. Of course, because it's cheap to ship. It's indestructible. It's a really great product from a lot of ways, but the end result is 220 million pounds of plastic in the Great Lakes every year.
Right, and cleaning soap dishes is kind of a pain in the butt. I don't know. I used to have to do that at my house, and it was scrape it out. But you could sort of refashion it into a new thing if you were creative. So anyway,
I've done that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Or if you're out of soap, you just rub your hand on the bottom of the soap dish, and you get enough from it. I use bar soap to wash my face, and and it stays in the shower and lives in the shower. And I'm frequently oh crap, I forgot to get another bar. Quick, let's see what's on the bottom of the soap dish. That's, I frequently do that. It's kind of handy in a way, I guess. It's like adding more water to the bottle right when you've only got a little bit left.
There was one time I tried to do a lot of DIY sustainability stuff, and I took a bar soap and I shaved it down in water and melted it to make liquid soap.
I've always wanted to do that.
It didn't go so well. It was way too liquidy and weird, but in theory, it could have been really great.
That is something that I have looked at before. And they're like, I'm like a wannabe DIYer. Like I have a whole set of bookmarks of like all these cool DIY things that I will never do, even though I could. Like, and making my own soaps for people as gifts was definitely high on my want list for Christmas, but I never got around to doing it. But it was the same thing, right? Like it was like you either like shave down a bar of soap or you buy the flaked soaps and then you can mold them yourself and you can add scents and you can, but I never did it.
Yeah, we did that with our kids one year we made bath bombs for holiday gifts. And it involved flakes. There were flakes, massive quantities of flakes. And and we gave them away and I don't think my mom ever used them. But that's fine. All right, I'm going to finish off the round. But you know what? Let's stick with the soap theme or a cleanliness theme. We'll do that. And so one thing that we've been using that I think is really great are scrub brushes that instead of being made like with a plastic handle have a wooden handle. And so the ones that I've been using, and they have a wooden handle, and then instead of like nylon bristles, they have bristles made out of some sort of plant fiber. Like the one I used was out of a plant called Palmyra or Tampico, I think. But it's hard to know. But so it's made out of a plant fiber. And so here's what I like about these. I do like them. We use them all the time now. They are a little bit more expensive. You can get them if what you have to do is look for sales, right? And so when we have it has you grab it, it's got a knob, not like a lengthy handle, at a right angle. You can buy them with that, but we use the knob style. And probably about $4 each. And they last roughly as long as the plastic ones do, with one exception that I'll get to in a second. And so what I like about these is, they're made out of wood and fiber, so no plastic. They're compostable, actually. If that's your deal. I know in Chicago you don't have backyards, but we have backyards in West Lafayette. And so, we have a compost
I'm in
pilot.
the burbs.
Yeah. And so we can just chuck it out there when we're done. But, they're sturdy, and so, I can clean out my cast iron pan and everything without problems. They work on that well. And the one thing that I like about them a lot is I am impatient. For example, when I go to get pizza, I will inevitably burn the roof of my mouth on the pizza because I can't wait 3 minutes for it to cool down. And so when I use nylon, like scrub brushes in the dishes, especially cast iron pan, which stays hot forever, it'll still be hot. I'll put the nylon brush in there and it will shrivel up. I will not draw an analogy what it will shrivel up like George Costanza in the pool. And, but with these plant things, they don't. So if your pan is still hot, you can just go ahead, you can scrub right away. You don't need to be patient. They are, sturdy, and they work.
Burning your hands if it's melting your nylon bristles. How are you handling the pan?
Because I handle the pan with a pan handle, I guess. I don't know. A hot pad or whatever.
Hot pad,
yeah. Or the handle's a little bit less hot because it depends on what you're doing, right?
I suppose, yeah.
And they're safe. We don't really have any nonstick pans in the house, but they're safe for nonstick. And it's good. It's a good product. It lasts roughly as long, especially if you tend to melt the handles of your nylon ones or the bristles. And it's a couple bucks more, or $1 or $2 more probably than it is, and so that's a deal. Or that's a con, I suppose. But yeah, we've tried a few different ones of these, and I love them. Guilt-free, higher quality, it seems to me. So big fan.
I'll have to look for them.
Yes.
Or at least, no, I have been looking for them, and I can't find something that I want.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's really personal, right? Everybody's dish pan or brush, like you got the style you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oddly personal, actually.
Yeah. Sounds like even more personal than your razors. Yeah.
We have two things in our house, one is what my husband uses and one is what I use, and we don't use each other. Like, we like to wash dishes differently.
Yeah,
so.
Hers, huh?
But I've seen sets. I've never seen single, I've never gone to Target and seen a bamboo or a wooden scrub brush, but I have seen sets sold online where you can get whole dishwashing, all your dishwashing tools.
Yeah.
In wood-based products, which I thought were really cool, but they were expensive.
Yeah. So that's something. That's what a lot of this stuff is. It seems like it goes one of two ways. Either it's cost savings, kind of like y'all are talking about, with you're making your own soap and saving money, or it is you got to pay a little bit extra, and maybe you get higher quality. I feel like these are, or maybe you don't, and that can be
even doing Sarah's, pay $10 and then you can use it for a really, really long time. You still have to have the $10, right? Which is which is really tricky.
No, I agree. When you're thinking about like proposing these as large scale solutions, I think that's something you have to take into effect. Is that this is largely it's dependent. I mean, it almost sounds stupid to say or silly to say, but it is kind of a position of privilege where you can either have the $10 in advance or spend $2 extra on a dish scrub brush, and if somebody can't, that's completely understandable. Yeah. So that's a real challenge I notice with a lot of this stuff. That it's upfront investments or it's a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
All right. Well, round one is in the books. If we had commercial sponsors, I would take a sponsor break, but we don't. So let's jump. Nor do we want any. We've had people email us. We're good. Public service we provide to you, the listener. Okay, round one is in the books, and so let's go to round two. Sarah, what is your second pick in the draft here?
So I don't really know. I want to draft something I'm on the fence about because, in theory, I want to like this thing. So I'm going to draft toothpaste powder, and I think I'll separate it from the toothpaste tablets because I've never tried the toothpaste tablets.
Toothpaste powder. What is? Tell us about toothpaste powder. Because toothpaste, by definition, feels like it should be a paste, not a powder.
Right. Well, this is a powder that you either dip your toothbrush in or you sprinkle on your toothbrush, and it comes in a tin. And then in your mouth, much like the toothpaste tablets, it foams and they dissolve in water and it turns to, it's all just foam in your mouth. It never turns to a paste. It just goes kind of straight to foam. And the fact that it came in this really cool tin, I really, really liked. I was super disappointed when I got it. I didn't realize, because I had my heart set on trying powder, I ended up ordering it on Amazon, which is a whole thing. But what I didn't know is that the top is plastic. So I was super bummed about that. So I got away from the tube. I didn't get away from the cap. I doubt very much that the top of this thing, even though it's removable, I doubt very much that it's recyclable because it's so small.
Right.
But I at least got away from having a tube. But I really liked it. I liked the way it feels. I felt like I feel like it does a good job on brushing my teeth, but it is so messy. And so I want to draft it in theory, but it needs some packaging improvements, I think. Like I have to basically sprinkle it on my toothbrush and it just gets everywhere. Or you wet your toothbrush and you dip it, but then your wet toothbrush makes it all clumpy and you're putting toothbrush water in your toothpaste. Yeah.
And you certainly can't, I know some people probably don't share toothpaste anyway, but you certainly don't want to share that with another person, right? Like, here you go.
Yeah.
Sarah didn't even share scrub brushes. She's not sharing toothpaste.
So yeah, but I really liked it in theory, and I think it's a product that I would continue to use if I could find the right one.
So it's a developmental pick, right?
It just wasn't it.
So you're going to bring it to practice for a few years and train it up, and then in a couple of years. So does it have a taste? Because toothpaste, you get flavors.
It's mint. It's mint flavored. Mint. Full disclosure, this is because toothpaste. I tried to buy products that were kind of cost effective, right? Like I wasn't going to spend $13 or $15 on toothpaste powder because that's just outrageous. So this one was $5. It is Indian. It is not from this country.
Okay.
But it was purchased, so it's distributed here through Amazon. So, there's a whole conversation, I guess, to be had about the shipping carbon costs of the shipping toothpaste from India to an Amazon warehouse and then me getting it from Amazon to here. But it was the least expensive one that I could find that, seemed normal.
Okay. And so is mint the one flavor you tried? Have you tried several?
Yeah.
All right.
Nope. Mint was the one flavor it's basic. This is made by a major toothpaste company.
Yeah.
So it tastes just like your regular toothpaste.
See, that's what's always skeeved me out. Or they'll make some out of, what's the stuff? Activated charcoal?
Charcoal.
And I'm like, is that going to turn my teeth black? I mean,
yeah, it doesn't turn your teeth black, but I'm going to pile on here. So because we're talking about toothpastey stuff, yeah. So I had something similar where I was looking for some kind of toothpastey thing, and they all had activated charcoal in them. And the one that I got it because it was in a box rather than in a plastic thing. But then you pull it out, and it's like, oh, it's still a tube. And I mean, it's it is what it is. But then so it's black when it goes on, and then you brush your teeth, and your teeth look like I don't know, like they're just completely gross. And I'm like, I don't know that, like, I know that you're not supposed to swallow toothpaste anyway. And I tell my kids to not swallow toothpaste anyway. But then I went down this whole hole of like, but what about charcoal? Is charcoal bad? Like if charcoal goes out into the environment, is that going to be bad? And most of what I've found was that people don't think it's all that bad. But yeah, so anyway.
I mean, it's used to like trap toxins, right? Like
exactly,
charcoal in like water filters and things like that. So I would think that it wouldn't be harmful.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, they like use it at the water treatment plant to trap the things that are going by. So in theory, but I didn't get to read enough about it. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, it's weird though, because like you're rinsing and you're like, why? I was thinking that my mom next time, if she ever comes to my house ever again, when COVID's done, that she'll be like, why is your sink so dirty? It's just my toothpaste now. Anyway, yeah.
I think charcoal is like used as some kind of digestive cleaner, so it may not be too bad. Don't fully quote me on that, but I'm almost positive that they.
Yeah, like if a kid gets poisoned, or a dog gets poisoned, they pump your stomach full of charcoal, and then
it
to get you to kind of throw the bad stuff up.
So maybe it's more okay to swallow than some other things.
Yeah.
When in doubt, just don't swallow it.
Yeah.
Good call.
But like, there's always a tiny bit left, you know?
Yes, that's
so there's
true.
like iocane powder. Over time, you will become immune. But
excellent reference.
All right, great. So mint toothpaste powder is off the board with the first pick in round 2 from Sarah. Megan, what do you have for your second pick?
Well, let's see. Let's stick with the mouth. And I'm going to go with bamboo toothbrushes.
Toothbrushes.
We're supposed to change our toothbrushes every 6 months or whenever you go to the dentist and they give you a new toothbrush. So that's when I do mine. But you're just throwing plastic away. And so I found these bamboo toothbrushes, and they're super inexpensive if you get them in a pack. There are some healthy stores that will sell them individually, and they get pretty pricey, but you can go to a big box store and get a whole 5, 6, 7 pack, and they're pretty inexpensive that way. But I usually just throw them away anyways, but you can break off the bristles and then compost the brush part, the handle.
Ooh, so very cool.
What are the bristles made of? So they're made out of some sort of plasticky or nylon or something?
I think so, yeah.
That's cool though.
So the bristles are the same, it's the handle that's different.
Mm-hmm. So just a smaller amount of plastic is being put back into the environment. But I'm sure they have some that are like you said, Stuart, they have some plant fiber bristles. I just haven't looked for something like that.
And you don't have to wait for your teeth to cool off before you brush them, so that's always good.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that someone drafted that, because that's one that I didn't get a chance to try, but was really excited about. And so getting that sort of stamp of approval makes me I think I'll definitely do it.
I've not had any complaints from the dentist. They can't tell that I stopped using. I had an electric toothbrush. That's what really sent me over. Like, you have to change the head, and it's just so much waste.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, well, let me try something different, and they can't seem to tell. So
well, that's good. Dentist approved. Now you're still young, but I wonder about that, because I'm a big electric toothbrush. My electric toothbrush is normal size, but I'm a fan of it, and yeah, ever since I went to the dentist, like at this point, 15 years ago, and they sold me an electric toothbrush, and ever since then, but I feel guilty because every few months you're throwing away, a 4-inch long piece of plastic, and then every few years you're throwing away the whole stupid thing, because of course they don't make them with replaceable batteries, because where's the profit in that? Which no comment, I understand, but so I've been frustrated by it, but I'm afraid to go away, because it's scrubby clean. I'm a dental all-star. Whenever I go.
So I have a question though, Megan. one thing, because I tried a bamboo handled toothbrush as well, but do you feel weird, like when it's a little bit wet afterward? Do you feel the need to like dry it off?
Yeah.
So that, or have you? Yeah.
There are sometimes, I don't know if I feel like my mouth is gross and the whole thing gets super wet because I'm really in there. But there are other days. So those days I just like, I'll rinse it off and then I'll just kind of sit it across the toothbrush holder so it can dry. So it can air dry. But then there are some days where I'll just wipe it off. But there are also the days where I don't know if my mouth just feels less gross than those days where I get the whole thing wet, but it doesn't. I just put it in.
Huh.
Yeah. Does it just feel like wet wood, or is it like sanded in a way where it feels like just wet wood? Okay.
Yeah, it's just wet wood, but like the thought of wet wood over and over again, I'm like, Well, but also
like,
I use
wood
spoon,
is like rubbing the inside of your mouth too, right? Like because the back of the brush is rubbing your mouth. So like if your mouth is kind of dirty, then the wood is rubbing your. So you want it to dry so that like what's on there.
Although that's not necessarily different from a plastic toothbrush, I guess. But yeah, something about the wood seems more
like wood is absorbent in a way that plastic might not be, even though they're both just going to dry eventually.
Yep, no, I agree.
But then if you're ever, not that I've ever been bad and not replaced my toothbrush every 6 months, but like if you, they get pretty gross too.
Yeah.
So maybe no different. Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, with the second pick, Megan takes bamboo toothbrushes. Carolyn, what do you have for your second pick?
I will pick metal tea diffusers.
Ooh.
And like instead of, so like you can get you can get really fancy teas in little sachets and things like that. But there was a study that came out sometime last year, I believe, that was like, there's just gobs of teeny tiny pieces of plastic that come out with that, right? Like when you're putting it into, so along with your tea, you're getting a nice dose of microplastic.
Oh my God.
Get out of here.
I just finished a delicious chai tea.
The fancy sachets, right? Like not necessarily every tea bag, but the ones that are like the really pretty kind
like the pyramid ones?
Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry.
But why?
But what you can do because of what they're made of.
Because they're not made of like cotton based or
Exactly.
Damn it.
Yeah. So I will try to find the link to that story in the article that was done so that everyone can go, but what you can get instead are those, the metal diffusers. And again, this is a thing where depending on, there are lots of places that are selling loose leaf tea, right? There is one store in Canada that is awesome and really cheap. But sorry, I'm the one who was like, but so you can look around though, and you can get loose leaf tea that is fairly economical. And is actually cheaper than like a box of, tea from the grocery store or whatever. And it's really good. And you can add, I like that you can, you can tailor it to your taste if you're feeling like a stronger thing one day. But then the metal diffusers too, there's all sorts of different styles that you can have. And I mean, you can get like a Death Star one. And when you're having a bad day, you can sit there and pretend to pull the Death Star out of your teacup. I mean, yeah. So there's a lot of nice options. And there we go. What I'm drafting.
I love that.
Metal tea diffusers. But so you have to get loose leaf tea. So that's like a whole rabbit hole you could fall down.
Yeah, and I have, and it's great.
I'm not going to lie. I spent a couple hours this morning roasting coffee outside of my driveway. So I am ready to fall down this rabbit hole. We're going to have to talk after. That's excellent.
I hadn't even thought about like the things I've been using for years that are plastic alternatives, but I got one, a metal strainer at the Feast of the Hunter's Moon, the festival that they have out here years ago. And it was maybe $1. And I used it all the time.
There you go. You've been saving plastic for as long as you've been alive. all 16 years or whatever it is. That's excellent. All right, great. And so for my second pick, the last pick, I'm going to choose, this is one, I'm going to stay with sort of the food-based theme, and that is metal plates for our children. So we have a lot of children, too many children. And, there are a lot of choices and comes, and so the problem with kids is like, we try to let them use our ceramic stuff periodically to teach them, it's, real stuff and it's high quality or whatever, but they often will break it. And so when they're younger, like our 5-year-old and up, like 4-year-old, but for our youngest kids, you have a choice of what you want to do. And so we've been using metal plates with our kids instead of the plastic ones. And I'm a huge fan of this for a few reasons. One is it's like a higher quality piece of equipment, generally speaking. Equipment. I don't use kitchenwares. I use kitchen equipment. I'm a man's man. But it's, it's like a really nice high quality thing. It's a metal plate. It's subdivided or whatever. It's not going to break. The kids, like plastic stuff, you can send it through a dishwasher a trillion times, and it doesn't, get brittle or age or anything. Sarah talks about how she's a would-be hippie, and that's fine. But for me, one significant advantage of these is they don't tend to be covered in advertisements for popular culture things, which
that's nice.
What some people care about that. Some think it's a disadvantage. That's fine. Everybody raise your kids how you want to. But for me, that's a big advantage that they're not staring at that all day. And they're eating off of a high-quality piece of dinnerware, which I love. So it's strong. It's sturdy. It's segmented. You can just bang it around. I love it. Big fan of giving the kids that. And we get little cocktail forks. Essentially, we go to, there's a big store that our director likes, where they sell cocktail forks. And that's what the kids use. And it's awesome. So big fan of that.
Great.
Yeah, big fan of that. And I would like to unrecommend, related to that, we were talking about this before we started recording, I would unrecommend steel water bottles for kids under about age 6 because they become weapons really easily. Like I walk around my 3-year-old, well, we don't have a 3-year-old right now, but when my kids are like 2 or 3 or whatever, I just am terrified that they're going to whap me with a full steel water bottle. So, we have steel cups. Those are good. Steel plates. Those are good. Or is it steel? I don't know anything about metal. Whatever it is, metal plates, metal cups, metal water bottles terrify me. So, but anyway,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
we've tried to get away from plastic, but we've gravitated towards silicone. And I don't know. I have no idea whether metal was just never something that I never even entered into my mind. I just, we have like a little. For the baby, we have like a little divided. It's a placemat / plate.
Oh, cool.
It's made of silicone, and for like because he's learning table foods and things like that. And we have a little trainer silicone cup that he uses.
There you go.
But it's really hard to get away from kids stuff that isn't plastic.
Yeah, that could be its own episode.
It's more expensive, and it's just difficult to find, whether it's metal or silicone or glass or whatever. It's hard to find stuff for kids.
And I'll be honest, when you have young kids, it's like you don't even care to a certain extent, especially with very young kids. Like they're
going to use it for such a limited amount of time that it feels like there's two schools of thought, I don't need this to be super nice. I don't need to spend a lot of money on this because they're not going to use it for a long time. But then the whole, those things may be true, but then that automatically equates to creating more waste.
You're also very, very tired.
You're right. You're exhausted. And I don't feel like dealing with it. That is totally true. And maybe we will do a whole, that could be an interesting episode. We get some people on and talk about plastic light parenting. Might be a fun thing to talk about. But another thing that's nice is when you get higher quality stuff, you can pass it down from kid to kid, but you have to store it. And so again, it comes down to, we live in West Lafayette where it costs like $1 for, a huge house, compared to other places I've lived. And so we have tons of storage. That's not a challenge for us here. But that, it could be in other situations. Yep. Okay, well, there is our draft of plastic-free alternatives, and we're not going to link to specific products in our show notes because best practice with outreach and extension is not to do that, but we will have a list if you look in our show notes of what we picked. And if you have experience with any of these you want to talk about us, send us an email at teachmeaboutthegreatlakes@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at the hashtag #AskGreatLakes. And we'd love to hear about your experiences, and we can talk about them in the future. And with that, we'll close out the draft with one of these songs that I'm about to pick right now. How about this one? Now, Sarah, we didn't just bring you on to draft plastic alternatives. That was fun. I enjoyed it. But really, what we brought you on is to do something that is much more interesting and much more important, and that is to answer these two questions. Question one is, if you could have a great donut for breakfast or a great sandwich for lunch, which would you pick?
That is so easy, and it's surprised even me when I thought of the answer to this question. I would pick a sandwich. And I am a sweets person. And the reason that I would pick a sandwich is because there have been sandwiches in my life that have stuck with me,
Stuck with
that I
you.
think about, that I dream about now that I have moved away. I used to live in Chicago, and 2 years ago moved out to the suburbs. There's a particular sandwich at a restaurant called Bat 21 in Evanston that I dream about. And one day we'll go back there and eat that sandwich.
What's the sandwich?
However, I have never met a donut that I won't eat.
Sure.
I will eat any donut.
Yep.
And all
fair.
donuts are good donuts, but not all sandwiches are good sandwiches.
All right. So when I go to Back 21,
Bat, B-A-T, like bat that flies.
Bat that flies. So I'm going to Bat 21. What sandwich am I going to? What sandwich am I going to?
It's a sandwich place, and their sandwiches are amazing because they're made on. Oh my god, I'm basically going to do a commercial for them. Their sandwiches are made on fresh baked bread from a bakery that's just down the street, and their meats are really good, and they're enormous, and oh my god, they're amazing. And so my favorite one is like turkey and cheese and this dressing and coleslaw, and it's griddled and it's hot. So it's basically like a turkey Reuben.
Turkey Reuben.
Oh god, my mouth's watering.
There it is.
Like literally.
Yeah.
Literally, my mouth is watering right now. And what time is it? I guess it is around lunchtime, so that does make sense.
It's lunchtime central. Yeah.
Well, I'm central, yeah. So
I just want to point out how many people like sandwich was really the big winner last year in all of the episodes. I think like very few people said donut, and then those who did say donut would talk about vegan donuts, which I
think is interesting. And I've had really good, like I've been to Voodoo Donuts in Portland, and we have a great donut shop here in the town that I live in now that's famous in the northwest suburbs. And so I've eaten good donuts, but to replicate that sandwich, boy.
Oh baby.
It's like, oh baby, oh mama, that's a good sandwich.
We'll have to try it out. So, as far as I can tell, Bat 21 is a war film with Gene Hackman and Danny Glover. Is there a chance that you're thinking Bat 17?
Bat 17.
Maybe Bat 17?
Bat 17.
Damn
it, Sarah. Should have done my research.
The fifth location is Bat 21. That's all right.
I mean, they're both, odd numbers.
Yeah. So watch the movie Bat 21, which I've never seen. But it's available on Hulu, I guess, and it got a thoroughly mediocre Rotten Tomato rating. So go ahead and watch that. And while you're doing it, enjoy a sandwich from Bat 17. Oh, that's okay.
Oh, you figured it
I think
out.
you're so excited for 2021 to occur that you're just adding 21.
Maybe that's what it was.
Or be over.
Right. And
well, yeah, right? Yeah. Like, so far, not so good.
I saw a thing the other day. We're recording this on the 8th of January. I saw someone send me a text on the 7th saying that they had tried the 7-day free trial of 2021 and they would like to return it for the refund.
Well, yeah, I saw something the other day too that said that today is actually like December, 40th.
Oh,
2020.
Yep.
It's not January 9th. It's December. It's December 40th.
Excellent. And so the second question we have to ask you is this. So you are the pollution prevention outreach specialist with Illinois Indiana Sea Grant. So what is it that makes for a really good outreach specialist, or what is it something that you bring in particular that you think makes you really good at your job that maybe people might bring to their job as well?
It's a really good question. So I think I'm kind of a self-deprecating person, but I think that what I enjoy most about the job, which then I hope then translates into being good at it, is that even though I consider myself to be a fairly introverted person, I can run my mouth with the best of them. Yeah. And I like to talk to people. I like to interact with people. It's work for me, but I enjoy it very much. I like giving talks. I like sharing knowledge with people. And so I think if you like doing that and you like talking with people, then it can come kind of naturally. Yeah. So as long as you know what you're talking about, you can help people and teach them things. And hopefully then that translates into, being a good outreach specialist.
Well, that's really wonderful. That's interesting to hear. Sarah, if people want to find out more about the work you do as an outreach specialist or just want to reach out to you, where can they find you? Is there a social media feed, a webpage?
Yeah, so our program, our pollution prevention program, has a Twitter feed, and it's at Great Lakes P2.
P2.
And then my personal Twitter is P2 for pollution prevention. And then my personal Twitter is at Sarah with an H, Sarah Azak, ZACK.
A for awesome.
Sarah Azak.
Yes.
A for awesome.
A for
yes.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on and teaching us all about the Great Lakes. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Yeah, can I add something that I thought was really interesting? Yeah. We are past our draft now, but almost everybody said metal straws.
Yeah.
In their list of things, and I thought that was super interesting because it's one of those easy alternatives that most people gravitated to when you think about, oh, go plastic free. They're like, no plastic straws, decline the straw. But they're easy to just carry around and have in your book bag or not pocket. That's a little dangerous.
Yeah, you just get stabbed by a straw and a pen. Yeah. But no, and they're also like, they keep the drink really cold. It's like.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like them. You're right. No, metal straws are good. No, those were definitely on my list too. What else did you have? We'll just add this in. What else did you have on your list that maybe didn't get picked?
Oh, let me see. I think that was most everything. Those were the big awesome ones.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a lot of deodorants that I know some people used. Hope Charters, our communication coordinator, she had to back out at the last moment, but I know she had used some of that and had some thoughts on it. Yeah, let's see. I had metal straws. There's a whole deal on plastic-free parent or plastic light parenting. We've done a lot of cloth diapering of our 3 kids, and so I have lots of thoughts on that. Overall, I'm a fan, but it's not a pure victory. There's
no,
yeah,
not at all.
Yeah. Let's see, what else was on my list? I think that is about it, were the main ones that I wanted to talk about. With this stuff, I think a lot of it really is just, it's a way to invest in a higher quality a lot of times. I think is the thing is like the ones that stick with me are the ones that are in at least some ways a higher quality experience. And that's why I like the scrub brushes and the plates and everything. It's never going to be better in every single way, or else it would be the dominant thing in all likelihood, or at least that's what capitalist theory would dictate. And why would that be wrong? But on the things where it's like, for me, what I notice is when there's like a quality difference without a super big price difference. And maybe it's because you invest in front, which not everybody can do. Or maybe it's because you're willing to pay a couple bucks more. But those are the things that are the most sticky to me, I think.
I was going to say, I was really happy to hear that Sarah, the plastics specialist, said that she used a silicone, because I've started moving towards getting more silicone type items. For Christmas, I asked for some silicone mats to use instead of foil on my baking sheets so that I'm not just balling up a bunch of foil all the time. Right. And so I'm like, okay, so that is a good step.
No, that is a good step. And that's so I've done a lot of bread baking like everybody else has, right? And in bread baking, they're always telling you to cover their stuff with plastic wrap while it rises. And so that always irritates me. So I should look into other alternatives. I agree.
Do you use the beeswax covered cloths, fabric?
I don't. I've seen some of those. No, I haven't really used them. Someone that I worked with gave me some. Actually, so when we had our 3rd kid, they brought like meals to our house, and someone I worked with gave me some as a result of that. And they were kind of cool. I just didn't get into it for some reason. What I ended up doing instead is I'll just like cover it with a plate and be like, it's close enough, and like weight down the, like maybe some air can get in, but it's not like I'm, working at Tartine Bakery or whatever it is anyway. So who cares? Yeah. Well, I'm super excited about 2020 wrapping up podcast-wise, and 2021 coming. We have a lot of fun things planned, but thinking back, what do you, I thought it might be good to take a minute to reflect on the first year of the podcast, which I think has been a lot of fun and in ways that I didn't necessarily anticipate. So do you have any thoughts on that, Megan or Carolyn?
It was just fun for me to learn about different aspects of the Great Lakes that I either didn't know or didn't remember from childhood.
Yeah, I agree. I think we mentioned this last episode, but it's been a few weeks. But it's not a joke. Like, I don't know any of this stuff whatsoever. Sometimes I like to fancy myself pretty clever, but I just don't know squat when it comes to this kind of stuff. So it's been all the amount that I've learned, like ranging from episode 1 with the microplastics, or episode 2 with Dr. Michael Twist about the formation of the Great Lakes and the ice sheets pulling back, and the tribal things we've just started to delve into, and we have so much more to talk about. It's been a ton. So I've learned a ton too. Carolyn, I assume you've learned nothing as our resident Canadian and Great Lakes expert.
Well, obviously. No. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's nice to hear so many different perspectives from, the researcher perspective or the management perspective or particular individuals who are they just love the Great Lakes. And so I think that's been really cool. Looking forward to hearing more from some of our guests. Hopefully some of them will come back again and talk a little bit more about the particular topics that are really important and things like that. So no, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I agree. It's been a ton of fun. And we're really excited for 2021 to come. We got a lot of things planned. We're going to do, we'll go into details over the next few weeks. And really, probably the thing to do is to follow us on Twitter at Teach Great Lakes. And let me just double check that I didn't screw that up. Because we'll announce stuff.
Sorry.
Yes, at Teach Great Lakes on Twitter, which I'm currently logged into, actually. And the feed changed when I added the 2 political scientists to it. Like when I'm seeing the number, because we follow all our guests, and so it's now a more spicier feed than it used to be. But anyway, we're going to do like a book club. We're going to read a book together and try to get either the author or someone who knows about the book on there. And so look for an announcement about that soon. We're going to try to have an awards ceremony, the Lakeys, which I hope will be coming up in the next several months, and then I hope we'll rotate to an annual thing starting in December. But we'll see how that goes and how much pushback I get. So maybe there'll be no Lakeys, but I think there'll be Lakeys. There'll be Lakeys. And I
am the executive producer.
But, every now and again, you got to put down the producerial finger. Or that's putting up the producerial finger. You put down the producerial heel. Anyway, point is there's going to be Lakeys. But we're also going to continue to have great guests on, and we're going to continue to try to come to you the first Monday of every month and most of the third Mondays of the month. And so it should be a lot of fun. So thank you so much for listening. It's been a blast. We've, exceeded our goals by several fold in terms of number of listeners already, which is great. We'd love to have more. So if you could take a second and tell a friend about us, that'd be super. Or subscribe if you're not subscribed. Don't download each episode. Subscribe so they come automatically. You're saving yourself time. And if you could do a review, that's great. 5-star reviews, even double plus greater. So we appreciate you doing that. But if not, just stay tuned. It's going to be a fun year. We're going to learn a ton because there's still a lot that I don't know about the Great Lakes, even after 23 episodes. And so by the end of this year, there'll be, let's face it, still a lot that I don't know, but maybe a little bit less. And we'll have some fun along the way. Megan, where can people go to follow you and your work?
You can find me on Twitter at _TFFP. Or on Instagram at The Familiar Faces Project.
Excellent. And Carolyn, you don't do social media, but where can people find out some of the stuff we do? We have a few feeds for Illinois Indiana Sea Grant, don't we?
Yes, you can go to Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, ILINSEAGRANT.
Yeah, do that. And a fun one that we don't talk about much is the Buoys feed. If you remember the Buoy episode from last year, that was a lot of fun. Go follow the Buoys on Twitter. You can do that. It's, 2 yellow buoys with 2 spelled out, right?
That's correct, yes. And they're probably sleeping right now because they typically doze at this time of year, yes. But yes.
Well, they'll be waking up soon, and we'll have some announcements. They might be getting a younger... Do the Buoys have a gender? I don't know. Brother or sister? If everything goes well. But we'll talk about that later. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. Here's to 2020 in the books. Good from a podcast standpoint. Not the best year from a geopolitics, public health, and everything else standpoint, but we're getting through it one day at a time. And
everybody wash your hands, wear your masks, wash your hands.
Hope isn't here, but she would tell you to do that. And while you're doing it, get some Castile soap, and you can wash your hands without feeling guilty. Like, that's the other thing, is like, you can just use a ton of soap and be like, it's fine. I can just squirt it everywhere. Because who cares? Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, Stuart Carlton, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the first Monday of every month and the third Monday of most months. And in between now and then, keep grading those lakes. Awesome.